show that's insightful, uplifts and benefits everyone and the planet. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and happy birthday to me. Ha! Yeah, every day is a birthday, right? So happy birthday to everyone out there, too. I hope that you are celebrating every day of your life. You know, I've had so many thoughts going through my head, and I'm so glad that you're here with me. Let me know if you're here. And if you're watching the replay, you know, give a wave. The energy keeps on going, right? And I send energy to you every day of the week, wherever you all are. Um, so, I was thinking about all the different energies that are afoot this year, all the things that we've talked about. And my some of my basic values are what we're looking at this year, and we're waking up to new values, to how much we really need, and are we here to acquire or are we here to give? I think that's kind of a no-brainer. But if you find that you feel down or you're a little depressed, oftentimes, I remember Marianne Williamson was saying one time when I was listening to her speak, that if you're feeling depressed, it's because you're focused on something that you don't have, something lacking, as opposed to what you have to give. So I hope today's show gives you some insights and some upliftment, and I wish that for you every day. And some of my daily values and brand values are beauty, joy, celebration, love, and light. So let's get that going on today, this morning. Happy Moon Day, everyone. So as we begin, today the moon is in Taurus, and it is at, let me see how many degrees. It was at 8 degrees just a little while ago. So let's see where it is now. It's now at 9 degrees. Moon moves a degree about every 2 hours, just so you know. So that's about 2.5 days per sign. 2.5 days per sign, 3.5 days per phase, and we continue in the crescent phase until tomorrow. So the crescent phase is that phase when you're getting all your resources in order so you can move forward on your intentions, and noticing any clues that come up regarding old habits and patterns that continue to sabotage your energy and steal your dreams and just generally get in your way. So remember, with the moon, you're a whittler. You whittle away at these things, so be patient with yourself. Be in love with yourself as well as life. One flows into the other. So today, I just want to mention a couple of things that I find really interesting and helpful for me, yearly and monthly, because I ran my charts, of course, and I found that my solar return, which your solar return sometimes isn't on the same day as your birthday. My solar return, the time at which the sun returned to the exact degree and minute of the zodiac that it was at when I was born, was at between 11 and midnight last night. So even though today, officially 8:21 p.m. on the 7th is when I came into this world this time, but my solar return was last night. And the thing that's really cool about that is, oh, thank you. Oh, Ronnie's here. Love you, darling. Hello. Thank you. And when the sun returns to that place in the sky, it sets up a natal chart for the year. So it's really, really helpful to know those overarching energies. It's kind of like it says, focus here. You'll get the most bang for your buck. This is what Spirit has on the agenda for you this year. And it also shows you where your challenges are, what you have to navigate, what you're being asked to bring to the table to elevate your spirit, to really rise to the highest of those energies. And then every lunar cycle, when the moon returns to where the moon was exactly when you were born, there's what's called a lunar return. And that occurs every 28 to 29 and a half days. And that's like a soul curriculum that's set up for that cycle. So it's really interesting because it keeps you on track so that you don't go emotionally all over the place, that it gives you that focal point to come back to. And the reason that I'm mentioning this, other than the fact that I just think it's really good to know, and I do solar returns and lunar returns. I do lunar returns every month for my longer term clients, and then solar returns, once a year when people want a birthday reading, so to speak. But my solar return this year and my lunar return were within hours of each other. Yeah. So it's sort of like the spirit going, here's your marching orders. In case you're not clear, here it is. And we're going to kick it off right now because I was born with the moon in Taurus and the sun in Aquarius. Yeah. So, so I'm experiencing kind of a double whammy, but I'm really feeling good because the energy's real clear, and clarity is always a great foundation for everything, right? We all like clarity. So the first thing we're going to do is what we always do. We're going to do the heart drop. We're going to drop into our hearts. So put your feet on the floor, uncross your legs, put your palms up in your lap, and just notice where the breath is in your body. Just allow it to come and go. Is your belly moving? If not, you might put your hands on your belly and welcome that next breath to fully move through your body. And remember, breath is not just air, it's prana. It's literal life force from source. So you want to really get all the delicious goodies out of a breath. So feel the breath come up from below the soles of your feet. Breathe in some beautiful earth colors, bronze and copper, and those beautiful grounding earth colors. That light comes all the way up, filling every cell of your body with that delicious earth sustaining light. And as it comes to the top of your crown, you exhale, and the crown, there's white light pouring down through your crown. And as it melds with the bronze and coppery light, you turn golden. That white light fills you, and you are radiant with golden light. So just do that for a couple more breaths. It's really good to breathe in through your nose and a nice long exhalation out through your mouth. And on the next breath, breathe in from the soles of your feet all the way up. And then as the exhalation happens, feel the energy of your mind, all that thinkety think, just drop. Moves behind your facial mask, through your throat, through your chest, and comes to rest in your heart. And you'll know when you're there because you'll be totally present here in this moment with the sound of my voice. After all, the point of power is the present moment. And when you're there, and I've got my hands on my heart, so I'm giving landing instructions to all that thinkety think. And when you feel you're there, open your eyes. You can feel how that calmed me, right? And you know, today, it's good to practice that and to remember to breathe mindfully because we have the moon. The moon is going to conjoin Uranus in Taurus, and that can be excitable energy. And it can really ramp your nervous system up and get your mind just, on overdrive. So dropping into your heart is really a good thing. I mentioned at the new moon that this Aquarius cycle has to do with the electromagnetic energy, the electrical impulses through the nervous system. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. And it's currently traveling through Taurus, which is what's called a square. It squares the energy of its home sign. And Taurus is giving us a big clue. It's telling you that if some of these gnarly aspects, some of these gnarly energies that's going on today is still, still lingering, because you might have experienced some conflicts yesterday, and that energy may kind of be lingering through today. And nature is the salvo for all of that. So get out in nature. I begin the day by calling the directions, as I've mentioned before. And if I can do that outside, even better. And I know that for some of you that may require putting on some coats and some earmuffs, but just connecting with the earth on a daily basis and saluting those directions, including the above, the below, and the within, the center, can be so, so grounding and helpful, especially on a day like this. So, remember, Venus rules the day. The moon in Taurus is ruled by Venus. So again, the heart drop, that heart connection with your loved ones also helps to solve any conflicts that might have occurred. You might even take a walk with a loved one or a friend. Both of those are certainly appropriate for today's energy. I'm going to move through the week a bit and then, tick off some other things for you. And if you have questions or comments, hi, Lisa, hello. Let me know. Let me know if you have questions or comments as we go along. Tomorrow, we enter the first quarter phase, and that happens at 5:49 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the first quarter is that half moon, and it tells you to take action. That if you haven't already begun to take action or calendared your intentions, which means calendared and commitment are two very synonymous words. So if you just put on your calendar when you're going to begin, because each intention that you set of 3 or 4 intentions has 3 action steps underneath it. So tomorrow you're going to take a step on that first action step if you haven't already. The crescent phase today is the phase where you get your resources in order so you can move in a forward direction. And you might run into those habits and patterns that provide a struggle to move away from the inertia of the past. So be patient with yourself and be loving and do some good sacred self-care. Taurus really supports that because Taurus rules the 5 senses. And the moon will continue to be in Taurus tomorrow. So in the first quarter phase, you want to continue to connect with nature. Perhaps that's one of your intentions during this cycle for your circulation is to walk in nature or to do something that gets you outside to feel the aliveness of nature. And especially if you're in a cold climate. I hope if you've been in a place where those blizzards and storms have been passing through that you're all doing okay, staying warm, and, that you're just doing good sacred self-care. Taurus really always reminds us of that, to stop and smell the roses and to tap into our Venusian nature, so to speak. So, and hugs, touch, giving ourselves a massage if you're in isolation or you're not able to, to get out and get hugs from people. At the first quarter, you take action on your intentions, and that phase is going to last for 3.5 days. So we'll be in the first quarter phase a good part of this work week. And let's see what my notes are here for you. Oh, yeah. Face any fears that keep you from taking action on those new moon intentions. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. And the lunar aspects will support you tomorrow. And your intuition is high tomorrow. So tune into that. Tune into the messages and use your feelization to support your actions. Taurus is, it can be warm and fuzzy or it can be very stubborn. But remember, at the new moon, we did that exercise where you drop and then you feel, because facts don't create, feelings do. So you get a good visual of your intention and then you step into the picture and you feel what it feels like to have that intention manifest right now. Feel with every bit of your being, every cell of your body, and then you move it out through your skin so that your whole field is bathed and filled with this frequency of that intention manifested right now. And then you have a reference point to go back to drop into should a dream stealer or a distraction or an old pattern come along that throws you off track. So, the afternoon energies support you journaling, writing things down, because the moon's going to shift. The moon's going to shift into Gemini early Wednesday at about 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So journaling is so important, and it's going to come back up with an aspect that I'm going to talk about. And that aspect actually is tomorrow, and it's Mars trine Uranus. Trine is harmonious. It's like a triangle, and when you ding a triangle, you hear this little bell sound that's really pleasant. So it's harmonious, free-flowing, easy-flowing energy, but it's Mars and Uranus. So there can be unexpected things that happen. And we've had, let's see, I'll go to my information about that. So Mars is in Capricorn and Uranus is in Taurus. And Uranus is not terribly comfortable in Taurus. It's been the arbiter of upset apple cart so that we will awaken. Uranus is the great awakener. And so you may find that, what you want begins to come in, but that somehow it's not totally fulfilling or satisfying. Or you may find that that there's some anxiety with this. Or you may find that you benefit from someone else's loss, that kind of thing that makes it a little unsatisfying. But ultimately, if you drop into your heart with gratitude and also realize that you live in grace, the fact that you're here in a physical body, that you are sustained every day with food and water and air, clothing, shelter, that you are living in grace all the time. I mean, we never know, right? We never know when we're going to leave the party. Nobody wants to leave the party, but people do, and we never know what that curfew time, when we have to be home, so to speak. So if this energy feels unfulfilling, remember, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So it's really supporting you in moving forward on your plans. Plan, strategy, that's what you fleshed out last month, right? Last cycle. Now you're in the cycle of the vision, the visionary in Aquarius. So Wednesday, as I mentioned, the moon's going to be moving into Gemini. And you'll have lots of options. So you might find that it's a little hard to choose, but that's where your plan and your commitment to taking action on those steps that you've laid out, those action steps that you've laid out, is going to be really, really helpful. And your vision, if you haven't gotten your vision in order, allow yourself to do some imagineering and some envisioning. And what does it feel like to live in the world that you see coming into being in the future? Now, somebody said to me yesterday something about getting back on track. I'm like, well, there's no getting back on track, because the old track is actually going away. It's as though it was there and now it's covered. It's covered up. It's disappeared. And your vision is actually creating the track. Your plan and your vision, they're creating your track into the future. And you are the light, the lamp unto your own feet, so to speak. So ramping up that light. How much light can you hold? Light and love, synonymous. Light, love, and sound have a lot to do with each other. So we go back to the solfeggio frequency. I know this morning when I was getting ready, I was playing the 528 hertz of love, love and above. And it just feels so good. It puts me in such a good space. And it puts my whole home in a great frequency. So I remind you of that. Sacred self-care continues to be really important. It's always important, but especially when the mind seems to be in high gear, which can happen in Gemini. So those energies may build to a peak on Wednesday night. And Gemini always reminds you to breathe. It rules the inhalation. So thus it loves information, all this information. But remember, for the 18 months prior to 2022, we were being told to wake up to how we allow ourselves to be programmed every day. Do we program ourselves? Are we in charge? Are we the CEO of our own lives? Because the media has their own agenda. Don't have to go down that rabbit hole if you don't turn it on, right? So keep in touch with those things that elevate your spirit and keep your frequency as high as possible. Vibe with the highest, so to speak, the things that are for your highest good and greatest joy. That's always a really good thing to ask yourself. How's this making me feel? Joy is the clearest evidence of the presence of spirit. And it's a little different than happiness. It really fills you. Joy fills you and emanates from you. So, go for joy. Thursday, you'll find that it's easier to make some concrete choices. And there may be some interesting dichotomies that come. Gemini's a dual sign. But Neptune's going to be dancing, and that Neptune can kind of blur the lines between 3D and the other dimensions. So if you can just remember that, move into an inward space, do some imagineering, some dreaming, but not while you're in the car. With this Uranus energy going on in Taurus, it really reminds us to stay grounded, especially when we drive, because Uranus also rules accidents. It rules electricity and earthquakes and accidents, and sometimes these are agents of awakening that we would prefer not to have ourselves experience. So take care with that. And then Friday, we've got Mercury conjunct Pluto. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. And later in the day, on Friday, we'll move into the gibbous phase, because we are building up to a full moon on the 16th in Leo, in passionate, heart-centered Leo. So this is the time, Friday and over the weekend, polish your progress. That's why you want to boogie on your intentions, so that on the weekend you can polish your progress, you can prioritize, see where your energy is not aligned with your intentions, where you might be over here or over there, or not moving forward to on your health, relationship, all the different areas that you've set your intentions in, and clear out the extraneous and essentialize. I think that's a great word for the gibbous phase, because the gibbous phase is the pressure cooker phase. It's the phase where the blood, the lymph, the water, the fluids in your body build up and become more erratic, just like the tides in the ocean. After all, we are micro oceans. And so as those build, you want to utilize that energy. And when you understand the rhythms of the moon and you use the keywords and align with the action, you'll find that you navigate much more easily. You become a good surfer. I don't know if you've ever been to Hawaii and seen those surfers, but sometimes enormous waves come and they play right into them. They wait for those. So that's a great analogy for you to think about, as opposed to being knocked off your board again and again and again, having it bang in the head, so to speak. So the gibbous phase, let's see, the moon moves into Cancer at 3:27 p.m. on Friday. So it could be, that's a high intuition, but it also could be a very emotional weekend. And watch out for emotional eating. That's a harmonious angle to Jupiter in Pisces, water. And Jupiter, thinks that more is better sometimes, and it can overindulge. And that can also have to do with activities, putting too much on your plate. But just know that it can be an emotional roller coaster, unless you are someone who, who really is used to living in Cancer energy. And even sometimes then it can sideswipe you a little bit. So, you want to take stock of those steps, of the steps that you're going to take next. And listen to your intuition. That's the positive high side of that emotional energy. And, loving those you're around, nurturing yourself and others, and establishing healthy boundaries, because boundaries may be tested over the weekend. So note your healthy ones. Be as clear and heart-centered as you can in your communication. And then some Sunday, there may be some hackles raised as well. So remember to be calm. A great word for Cancerian energy is compassion. Cultivate compassion for yourself and others. I mentioned that Mercury on Friday, Mercury is going to conjunct Pluto. And that's kind of big stuff, because we had Mercury retrograde, and so it did that 3 times. So Mercury is the way we think, it's communication, it's messages, and it is the divine messenger and the trickster. It's now moving forward. And as I've mentioned before, we've got a green light, all planets direct until May. So that's really beautiful, great news. So, have your plan, your vision in order, and work it. As well as as what occurred to you when Venus was retrograde, and you reviewed your finances and your relationships and your values. This is a year of reevaluation. That's what Venus retrograde was really about. It will be out of shadow on March 5th. So you'll be looking at the things and the values that you saw and the adjustments you want to make, and looking at how you're going to move forward on those and begin to look at that motion. And remember, the universe moves forward like a locomotive, not a rocket. So It gives you time to put these things into place. So we've had 3 passes, 3 times when Mercury has been conjunct Pluto because of the backward motion in Capricorn. So now it's moving forward and it's going to conjunct Pluto again. And the first time was the 30th of December. The second time was the 28th of January. And now we're having that occur on, tomorrow. So Pluto's transformation. Pluto says, what do you want to eliminate? Again, back to this, the thoughts, Are you breathing shallowly? Are you taking time every day to do something that reminds you that to live fully, you've got to breathe fully? Monitoring your breath. On a couple of shows ago, I mentioned that one of the biggest keys to longevity and rejuvenation is how many times you breathe a minute, as well as how fully you breathe. So if you can get in the habit of breathing, and it's a great exercise to do while you're listening. Because watch yourself and see if you're like almost holding your breath, thinking about what you're going to say next or your response, rather than really inhaling what the person is saying and then giving the proper response, if there's even a response needed, on the exhalation, so to speak. So I looked back in my journal. I mentioned that I find journaling to be so important. And it helps you live more deliberately. It also helps you get in touch with your true feelings, because you might wake up in the morning feeling crappy, and that goes into your journal. And then by the time you're done journaling and you finish with gratitude, you feel so much better. And then also you always have a reference to look back to. So for instance, I went back to my journal on the 30th of December, because that's when this kicked off. And, something that was kept secret might come to light. These are the kind of things that could have happened in that first undisclosed information coming to light. And so mine was a bit esoteric, but I look back, I've been listening to David Icke. And I wrote in my journal, I was writing about it, and I wrote how, because he was talking, and we've talked about this before, about how the energies of love and the energies of fear cannot exist in the same space. And that love truly, as was said in the 60s, and people thought it was a little woo-woo and a little out there, but love is the answer. And it's really the answer to staying out of fear as much as possible now. False expectations appearing real fear. So so that was what, for me came up big time. The fact that he was even talking about, he really talks about the nuts and bolts of it, the energies beyond, he calls them the archons, beyond our fields of love and light that are fear, and how these energies don't operate in love. They don't understand love, and they have no strength against it. So I thought that was cool. I read that in my journal and went, that's cool. And so then I looked at the 28th, and it was like, okay, well, what happened then? Well, when I looked at the 28th, back at the 28th, I had just lost a really dear friend, kind of unexpectedly. She was very vibrant, magnificent, inspiring woman. And so I looked in my journal, and that night I had gone to bed, and I was awakened at 3 a.m., which I mentioned before, that if you find yourself waking up between 3 and 4, ask what messages want to be downloaded to you, because in spiritual traditions around the world, there is a regimen of waking at that time as the earth begins to shift in its relationship to the sun, the moon, etc. And messages come through. The veils are thinner. So at that time, I was taken into a meditation. And I love meditating with Mooji, by the way, Mooji, because his whole thing is having you drop the costume, the earthly costume, the identity, the personality. And I found that I moved into a meditative state that took me into the field of love, of source consciousness. And just bit by bit, I just dropped my awareness of my body and my personality and moved into that kind of all in all field. And when I woke in the morning, I knew that my friend was free. And so that was really, it's revealed to me all the time, but this was a different level, so to speak, about how when you release the personality, when you're able to do that, and it takes practice, and it's not like you go into the state and boom, it's done. But I find, as I said, Muji meditation is very helpful. I do that when I wake up in the morning, just so you know. I do a short meditation with Muji so that I have this clear field before my personality thinkity think stuff takes off. So then I more deliberately put on this earth persona, this earth awareness. And then, and then so tomorrow we're going to have the final of that. And that's really accepting responsibility for whatever you've seen on those. Gives you two particular focal points, especially if you journal, or if you can go back, you might even just look at your calendar and go, oh yeah, that's what was happening. And the consequences of those two particular dates, those two particular conjunctions, Mercury conjuncting Pluto, now become obvious, the consequences of that. And what you're being told, the messages that came through that you now want to be responsible for and live, or do some clearing. And, that was something that came through the weekend. I was really thinking. I sat down yesterday. I started, I guess, on Saturday to prep the show, and some words came through. I was looking at the planetary lineup. I don't know if you're aware right now, but half the sky, the planets are all on one side of the sky. And that's powerful. It definitely is lighting up a particular area of your chart. And of course, if you can book a session with me if you'd like a reading. And by the way, if you message me on Facebook, I'm doing something really special during the month of February. And it's a great special on a reading. And I'm honoring the 222 of February, because we've already had two, the 2nd of February, 2022. We're going to have 2/20, 2022, and then we're going to have 2/22, 2022. These twos are all about the divine feminine. And that's another thing. I'd love to know what that means to you, because this is new territory. We are balancing the divine feminine and having it rise so that it allows the divine masculine to have its a balance point too, as opposed to the driven patriarchal masculine that we've been experiencing. So the divine feminine begins in each of us. What does that mean for you? It's receptive, it's magnetic, it's kick-ass. It's, what does that mean for you? I'd love to know. I'd love to know. And if you have questions about that, let me know, and we'll get a dialogue going here, because this is 1,000 years of the feminine that we've entered in this century. And then this decade really kicks it into high gear. And we're seeing it kind of subterraneanly, but it's actually something to really be brought to the forefront of our awareness. And the words that I came up with, because we've got Mars in Capricorn kind of leading the parade, and then Uranus in Taurus at the end of it, like the caboose. So that's, that brings that Mars, that trine back into place that I previously mentioned. But it's also, those are two really excitable and possibly incendiary energies, unless you harness that energy and put it into a plan and a strategy, and are committed to waking up in the way that you utilize your resources, particularly yourself, knowing that you're enough and you have enough, and that acquisition is not the name of the game anymore. It used to be, but we were a very creative culture at one time, and then we became a consuming culture. If I just have enough, I'm enough. I used to live in Venice, and I would go down to the boardwalk, and I'd see homeless people with 3 shopping carts full of stuff. Don't ever worry about not having enough stuff in this country. You will always have enough, if not too much stuff. For probably a lot of you can relate to the fact that we spend a lot of time with stuff management, right? So you'll always have enough stuff, but the fact is you are enough. And so as long as you have the basics that you need, and oftentimes we need to be free of some of our extraneous stuff so that we can reclaim that energy. So I don't know if you're aware of it, but everything we own, we have a cord of energy to. It's a lot of cords, right? A lot of attachments. So when you can continually release, you know, someone else can use it, you know, when you release that, you cut a cord of that energy and you're able to reclaim it so that you can use it for this incredible time of transformation that we're in, which begins with each of you. So we've got quite a lineup in Capricorn, with Mars kicking off the parade, and then Venus, Vesta, the focus of the heart, Mercury, Pluto, all of those are in Capricorn. So that underscores the fact that your grounding is going to come by having a plan and a willingness to take it step by step. You know, when the mountain goat heads up one of those sheer cliff faces, it doesn't just leap, it gets sure-footed. And that's what your strategy and your plan will do. So that as you expand into a bigger vision for humanity, you don't get overwhelmed and lost. And those steps keep you grounded as you live your vision. And look at how you're going to live your vision and live that frequency now. And then we come to Aquarius and Juno. Relationship and marriage is there, the asteroid goddess Juno. Saturn in Aquarius throughout this year. And it reminds us, Saturn says, Saturn's about responsibility. It's one of its facets. And it also says, let's build something, but it shows us our limitations. And it reminds us that freedom, Aquarius is all about freedom. Freedom implies responsibility. Then we come to Pisces. We've got Jupiter, Neptune, and Pallas Athena in Pisces. And Pallas Athena is the warrior goddess of wisdom and intelligence. So it reminds you that if you're connected to spirit and remembering that your spirit having a human experience, that you are going to have emotional intelligence. You're going to be able to really call in that Pallas Athena energy. And of course, Jupiter says, dream bigger than you ever have. I've mentioned that before, and Neptune's there too. And Neptune is only in Pisces every 162 years. So we opted to be on the planet at a time when the magic of Neptune is available in its home sign. It can also blur boundaries and make things kind of confusing at times. Again, that foundation of your plan, getting out in nature, all of those things. And then we have Eris and Chiron in Aries. So Eris is the goddess of discord. It's making people take to the streets. And we are going to see more of that when Jupiter moves into Aries in May. That's probably going to ramp up because people are waking up. And it's like that movie from the 60s, Network, where Peter Finch leans out the window and says, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Well, you know, the thing is, if you can be proactive and you're working your lunar rhythms and you're working your plan and you've got your vision and you've been dreaming your dream and you've been looking at how you can live that, not go down the rabbit hole, be on your own track, then you're going to find that you are ready to pioneer your dreams as opposed to just being enraged, right? Okay. So Chiron in Aries is about the collective wound around being able to express our individuality and being having it be allowed, honored, etc. And so we're all experiencing that. Chiron shows us our deepest wound. And when we plumb the depths of that, we release our greatest gift. So that pioneering, innovative spirit, that initiatory spark of spirit that comes to enliven every individual when they're born on planet Earth. That's one of the high sides of Aries. And then we come to Taurus. Moon's there today. Uranus is there. The North Node is there. That's our collective soul mandate for the next, 17 months now. And Ceres. And I don't know if you remember, Ceres was promoted to planetary status I don't talk much about it, but because of its size, Pluto, they tried to demote Pluto, and then they elevated Ceres to planetary status out of asteroid status. Ceres is the goddess of the grain. It's how we feed ourselves and others. So, food supply with Uranus and Ceres together in Taurus, you may find disruptions in the food supply. Support your local farmers market. Eat food as fresh as you possibly can. And if you're a gardener, good on you, because that's so relevant and smart during this time. But a lot of us are living in colder climates. I live in the desert, so that's got its own challenges. But we have farmers markets all over the desert every weekend. And that's always my preference, supporting local farmers, because the quality of the nutrients that are available in your food as it goes into your body much higher if you eat local organic produce. But if you, and the fact that we rely so much on refrigeration and distribution of food, that's what this Uranus and Ceres may disrupt. So just be aware and develop some smart habits around that. It's not like I'm not saying, oh, the sky is falling, there's not going to be anything available. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be mindful and be grateful. The South Node in Scorpio is on the other side of the sky, so to speak, energetically, because it's really, these are on the ecliptic of the moon. So this is not a planet, but as I mentioned, it gives us our collective mandate for soul growth during that period of time. And the nodes move seemingly backwards. So whereas the other planets are moving forward, the nodes moved from Gemini and Sagittarius last year, air and fire, into Taurus and Scorpio, earth and water. And I was thinking about beliefs. One of the words that I wrote down was tolerance. Kind of an interesting word. I thought, tolerance. Is that really an open-hearted word? Tolerate. And it's, if you open your heart, if you get to the point where you don't see all this categorization of color and creed and all of those things, then you have to look at your beliefs. And I feel that as we move back into Scorpio, we're going to be asked, because Scorpio's deep. It really thinks deeply, takes things deeply. It's very emotional, very powerful. And so I feel we're definitely being asked as part of this mandate to go deep to the root of our beliefs. What's at the root in our childhood? Where was a word or a value expressed or lived from old programming and old beliefs that are not true? They're not the truths that will uphold the new vision for the future that we have. And Capricorn, all those planets in Capricorn, I thought status, because Capricorn is very much about status and the status quo, which is why with Pluto there, we're seeing the status quo decay and deteriorate so that it can be reborn in a transformed way. So what does status mean to you? What is status quo? How invested are you in preserving that? Because that's the danger. That's the corruption we're seeing right now. So what does that mean to you? What is status? And how linked is it to your perception of ego personality? And I think we all get to look at that now. Does it mean having a 5,000 square foot home? Do we feel like we're nothing without that? I mean, these are the kind of things. And we have really in our culture been driven to achieve status. So I think, I was listening to Tony Robbins last week, and he was saying that the big driving force now is attention. People being on digital devices, wanting attention, selfies, radicalizing, all of these things. So it's really good to look at that and to look at how at peace you are with yourself, because that's where peace begins. I think the term peace activism is a very odd one. It's kind of an oxymoron. Be peace, vibrate peace. All the great sages that we know throughout time embodied peace. And that's how they walked it. Not that they didn't get up in arms when they saw injustice, but they understood that peace was a state of being. And, then I thought about this bridge I mentioned last week. This bridge that January was. It was a bridge month. But then I went back to 2012. And in 2012, I meditated at 12:12 and, 12:12 a.m., 12:12 p.m. And in one of my meditations, I was shown myself on a bridge. And it was over rushing a very wide rushing river. And it was kind of an arched bridge. And I was kind of splayed face down on the bridge. And I had my hands, my fingers in between the boards about halfway across. And my ankles were being pulled by something. I turned around and on the shore, I saw a bunch of men in black suits. And they were hanging onto my ankles. And I heard my inner voice say, "Don't worry, you're halfway across the bridge. They're trying to hold you back because they can't go. Because light and love are the keys to crossing that bridge." And I realized that what that bridge is made of, that we're all being asked to cross, that was kicked off in 2012 with the end of the Mayan calendar, is an awareness of oneness. And we're not there yet. That's a whole different way of living than what we've ever experienced. Perhaps in Lemuria, there was an awareness of oneness. Perhaps there were times in way distant ancient past. But in this time, this is kind of it's like a concept. It's like, what? Awareness of oneness? There's only one of us here? I've mentioned the analogy of the diamond with over 7 billion facets, and we're each polishing our own facet while aware that our facet is part of a whole diamond. So I feel that's where we're being asked to release the old hurts, the old victimhood, the old beliefs, all of these things that keep us from the truth that is that love is all there is. It's what we are, and as humans, it's what we were created to be before there were forces that operate out of fear that sought to enslave. Really makes you have compassion for those forces in a way. But your consciousness determines where you are on that bridge. So we just get to watch each day. Where does our heart open, and where are we in protective survival mode? I'm not saying to be stupid, don't stand in the face of a gun or something like that. But, I don't have guns in my atmosphere. I have maybe one friend who owns one for protection, who lives out in the wilderness in Joshua Tree. But I have a gun range about a mile down the way, but I don't hear it, and I don't really interface with that. It's just you create your reality. So if you're in danger, you want to be smart, of course. You don't want to court danger. But these are the kind of things that I've been thinking about. It's like it's this dance that we're doing between this old way of being, this understanding that we are eternal, that we are energy, and therefore we cannot die. We can only die to our personality. And so how do we move forward in this world of duality, doing this dance to move into the light awareness of oneness? You might ask yourself that question. We continue to move through the photon belt. We continue to have the coronal ejections, the masses coming from the sun. The veils continue to be thinner, the magnetic fields. And therefore, we are being asked to take on more and more light. The Earth is about 300 hertz above us. The Earth it's developing in consciousness. It's going. And we're invited to go with her. We haven't been kicked off yet. So, these are just things to think about. It's my birthday, and I've been thinking about a lot of things, and I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful you're all out there. I've been on the planet 76 years this time. And I say it that way, which is a big key, because in our culture, the English language is built to categorize and limit you, just so you know. So one of the things that we do is they'll say, how old are you? And someone will say, I am. It's like, wait a minute. I am is the source of the universe. It's that field of energy out of which everything's I am. So I'm not going to qualify myself with an age, because I am is ageless. But how many years have I been in this particular Earth vehicle, this RV, on the planet this time? And in other languages like Spanish, and Ronnie speaks Spanish fluently, one of the things that they say is, I have so many years. It's an honoring. And so if look at that word today, perhaps if I leave you with that word, honoring. The last word that I had was sovereign. What does it mean to be sovereign? And I realized that everything from the Federal Reserve to corporations, to all the things that seek to allay their own fear by having control, feeling that they're in control, are efforts to be royalty, to keep that old system in place. But if you're truly sovereign, you don't need to be lord over anything. You just need to welcome in the Lord of your own being, that light, that love. So if you have anything to fire back at me in the chat, I'd love to know what all of this is, how all of this is hitting you. It's been a little while today, but I wanted to share my thoughts with you because you're celebrating my birthday with me, and that's very, very dear to me. I'm very blessed to be here. As you all know, I went through a major health crisis, and so I am experiencing rebirth, and I'm planning on being here for a while because I have things to do and a lot of love to give, beginning with you. And if you're watching the replay, please leave me comments, answer these questions, let me know your input, because I will get back to you and we will get a dialogue going, and I love that. I also want you to know that I was this weekend, I did a conversation on a radio show called Twin Flames Divine Fire with Sandra and Alan, and a wonderful couple. They're getting ready for their 37th anniversary. And we talked about all kinds of things, from the moon to, the awakening of that the planets are calling us to in 2022. I'm going to be on there every 6 weeks, I think now. That's what they've asked me to do. But that replay is available. It's going to be on 3 more times this week. And then it will be available on Moon Powered Astrology page. So, and I am going to be getting a website up. This is a year for me. I'm in a 6 year, and I have Capricorn rising on my ascendant. So this is a year when it's up to me to be the CEO of my life and get the, get the books done, get things done. I have a chapter in a book called Reformation, the Science and Magic of the Goddess. And that's available in ebook form on Amazon. That's going to come out in hardback. And when it does, I'll let you know that, in case you're interested. It's a lot of wonderful chapters, different women who have done amazing work with the goddess over years in their lives. Something I heard today that I loved was, let your thoughts die instead of you. Pretty good, huh? Yeah. In other words, be willing to just let go. Some of the most powerful words in the English language are, I don't know, tell me more about that. Security isn't in knowing everything. It's quite the opposite, actually. And that's one of the things that Aquarius tells us, that an open mind is gold. So I think that that's pretty much what I have for you this week. Saturn in Aquarius tells you to get your vision into form, get it laid out, nailed down, and you've got your intentions for this cycle, but you might also find that just keeping your book open or note paper handy as your vision fleshes itself out, and you allow yourself to really use that Jupiter and Pisces energy to grow your dream big, to allow yourself to look at your vision for the world. And I mentioned Zeitgeist, the movie. There are a lot of wonderful things out there to keep you on the high side of what's possible. And now we are in a time when what's happening is, as the old illusion breaks down, we're being opened into the field of all possibility. And that's so exciting. So, Debbie, are you out there? I just want to say hello. She's behind the scenes, and I want to really, really express my gratitude for Debbie. And I want to remind you that gratitude is the fertile soil in which all your intentions take off and are planted. Yeah, and there's the link for sessions. And remember, I'm going to give you a special offer if you message me at Moon Powered Astrology on Facebook during the month of February. So you can look at the readings that are available where the link is, or you can message me, or either, both. And that's it for today. I'm getting ready to go out with a friend and celebrate another Aquarian. And I love to hear from you. Spread the word. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Lou. Thank you so much. I thank all of you for listening. Lisa, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And all of you who are watching the replay, I love you. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. As you know, always, I love you to the moon and way beyond.